Right, what is going on, guys? This is Oliver from Response AI, and in part 3 of the AI Odyssey Academy, we're going to be talking about scraping as many leads as you possibly can using AI. So, to get right into it, lesson 3 of the 6-step AI scaling model: leveraging AI helps you contact thousands of people every single day. Now, this module is going to teach you how to scrape practically unlimited B2B leads for your cold email outreach, triple clean those leads so they're ready to be contacted, and even sell the lead lists that you scraped later on for a profit to companies. You'll be legally scraping 1 million plus B2B leads from corporate leads, for example, like marketing agencies, software companies, local businesses, etc. And our favorite sources for B2B leads are OpenBase by Response AI, Apollo.io, Find Email, LinkedIn Sales Navigator, and Instant Data Scraper. Now, OpenBase is a small database of double verified leads that Response AI has released in the past 3 months. We don't claim to have tens of millions or even hundreds of millions of leads. We instead have around 3 to 5 million super quality decision maker leads in B2B companies, ranging from industries like IT, software, marketing agencies, fintech startups, all sorts of stuff, e-commerce brands, etc. And all of the leads are double verified every 14 days so that the lists are as clean as they possibly can be. Apollo.io is a one that everyone loves to hate. It has got tens of millions of leads, upward, somewhere between 250 to 300 million leads total. Of those leads, a lot of them are, not verified leads. So it's kind of difficult to get your money's worth with Apollo, but we're going to be showing you some hacks and some secrets around how to get through all of those export limits so that you can get tens of thousands of leads for very cheap. The next one is Find Email. Now, Find Email is not a database per se. It is more like a scraper that scrapes data from LinkedIn. When you're on LinkedIn, you can launch Find Email and it will scrape a list of emails from your LinkedIn list. And it can also find leads from Apollo as well. So there's plenty of stuff to do with Find Email, but it is slightly more expensive than the rest of the options. Right, let's get into it. So crafting an ICP before you scrape. So building an ICP, or an ideal customer profile, is extremely important, because if you skip actually doing this, even though it's a very boring thing to do, you'll scrape leads who will never buy. So an ICP helps you understand who your customer is, so you can scrape a load of those exact leads and then close more deals because you understand the prospect better. If we think an ICP could be 20 to 50 employees, they're the CEO or founder, they live in Canada, and they run an SEO agency. So the first thing I'm going to ask you to do is start with your best customers if you have any. So begin by analyzing your current customers if you have any, and then just get more of those. So an example is that with Response AI, which is the AI outreach tool that we run, and it is the backbone of this course, our best clients, typically people who have, lead gen agencies or marketing agencies, and they're scaling their cold email outreach or their LinkedIn outreach. So what we did is we just scraped tens of thousands of, marketing agencies from the internet that are very similar to our current clients. And that's how we're getting more meetings and deals. You can identify which customers that you have are the most profitable. So who has the shorter sales cycles? Who are the most satisfied and engaged with what you're selling? Because remember, we don't want to reinvent the wheel. We just want to get more of the people that win with us. You know that there's people who don't get the best results with your product for whatever reason. Say if you were to sell, basketball hoops to pregnant middle-aged women, they're not going to get much of a result or much sort of value out of that product if they're not very active, for example. So the idea being, if you are selling things for your agency to people who are alike the people who have already gotten value, that's the biggest cheat code of all. Don't try and reinvent the wheel or sell to brand new people who don't want the product, or whose, ICP doesn't fit what you're selling. Analyze technographic information. So a bit more advanced here. If you understand the technology stack of your ideal customers, in other words, what tools they're using, for example, I use, Slack, I use Zoom, etc. You can use OpenBase, Apollo, or other B2B lead sources to actually find this out. And you can get clever with this. So for example, it's extremely likely that if a company is using Salesforce, They have a sales team. They have a sales force. I bet my life on it. And the same thing applies for something like Hotjar. Hotjar is a tool that helps software companies map the user experience of their apps. So Hotjar will tell you where your users are clicking and how often they're clicking there, what buttons are broken, etc. If you're using Hotjar, I will bet my life that you run a software company. So that's kind of how you can use technographic information to filter by specific companies. The best one is obviously Shopify, right? So it's very unlikely that a library or a company that does marketing is going to, be running their company off of Shopify or BigCommerce or running Klaviyo, etc. So you know that you can be pretty much granular with those technographic issues. You know that they're going to be following that strict framework of using Shopify if they are a fashion brand, and they're likely going to be using Hotjar if they are a software company. If they have a sales team and they have Salesforce, then you can sell them, for example, sales training, and you can always figure out compatibility with your solution. Now, how to craft an ICP. So with the industry or sector, you're identifying the specific industries that your product caters to, of course. So if your product is a software solution for healthcare management, your ICP should focus on the healthcare sector. And the same thing applies for technographic information inside that industry. So for example, Clio is a tool that helps law firms, grow their firm and manage leads, right? It is extremely likely that if I reach out to someone who is using Clio, they probably run a firm. So you see how you can use the industry with the technographic information. The growth stage. Consider whether your ideal customers are like just starting out. So that can be learned from revenue or employee count. Or if they're in a specific phase like expansion or downsizing, have they hired loads recently? Have they gotten rid of loads of people recently? Now, with identifying the role of your decision makers, this could be CEOs, IT managers, marketing directors, etc., depending on the offering. And we're going to go into something really, really big, a really cool secret in the next slide. And finally, company size. This can be measured with revenue or employee count. The honest truth is that all of the B2B like lead lists that you scrape, they're not going to have the most accurate revenue data, because who does? Like, who's going to know the exact revenue of Slack except Slack? There's estimates and there can be general numbers given, but you'll never know the exact revenue. So instead, I like to decide on how big a company is, not based off of the generalized revenue given by companies like Apollo and databases like that, or ZoomInfo. Instead, I like just knowing, right, if they have 200 employees, they likely have money. So it's kind of how that works for me. Now, a super, super interesting tip here is pollination. So pollination is when you purposely target an ICP that is not your ideal ICP with the intention of pollinating the company from the ground up. So you can build relationships with influential but subordinate decision makers. For example, decision makers that are assistants or managers or directors or reps. They typically make decisions that then get sent to the higher ups to make those bigger decisions for them. They will champion your product internally and spread what is known as a contagion inside the company, or a pollination. So if you, for example, woo the socks of a influencer marketing manager, it is highly likely that they will go to the CMO or head of marketing and say, look, I've gotten a call with Steve this week. He's really runs an interesting company, and he's going to help us with our influencer marketing. They are the influencer marketing manager. It's very likely that they'll respond to your email if it's about influencer marketing. But the CMO, let alone the CEO, is far too busy to respond to every email because they are the CMO. They're extremely busy. So you can obviously pollinate companies from the ground up by building relationships with people who are below the full decision maker. And this is also known as like account-based marketing. Now, define verification fatigue. So a very important concept here. The emails that you scrape from these sources are sometimes duds. Now, OpenBase does like triple verify the lead, so you'll get around 90% valid emails. There's also unlimited exports. So if you do have invalid emails, you can just go back and get more, and we clean them for you and send them over to you anyway. Apollo, in my experience, can have as low as 40% duds, even when filtering extremely carefully and filtering for leads that the platform claim are verified. Sales Navigator will reveal many personal email addresses like john@gmail.com's or john@hotmail, But Find Email will help you find them and then verify them, so you only get the verified emails, even if they're super personal emails that they've used for years. Either way, be aware of verification fatigue. Always try and scrape more emails than you plan on contacting, because after you've cleaned them, the list will shrink. So meet ICP Man. So who is ICP Man? He is the CEO of an SEO agency. He invests in Salesforce and SEMrush. His revenue is 1 million annually. His agency has 55 employees and he lives in California. This is the guy that we've been serving for years and years, and he loves our product. So why don't we just find people like him? So now that your leads are scraped, which we'll get into in a second, we'll need to clean the leads. So cleaning basically means that you get your list that you scrape from OpenBase, Apollo, SalesNav, Find Email, ZoomInfo, whatever it may be. You throw them into an email verification tool. Now, the tool will use smart robots to check if the email is valid or not. If it's invalid, it will flag the email as bad, and you shouldn't send to these bad emails. If you send to bad emails, you are in trouble. Your emails bounce, and then if your emails bounce, your email sender reputation obviously goes down the pan, and it's not good. The worse that reputation is, the less Gmail and Outlook will deliver your emails to the inboxes of your leads, and therefore the less sales and meetings you'll get from a cold email. So it's really bad news. Like, just don't do it. Like, don't send to cold emails that are invalid. Like, it's as simple as that. Million Verifier is the tool that I use most. We're not affiliated with them at all. Maybe we should be, because we plug them everywhere I go. But Million Verifier helps you verify those leads at scale, and it's actually extremely quick and cheap. Scrubby is more expensive, but it verifies more emails. So say, for example, if Million Verifier, you give it 1,000 leads and it might verify 500 of them. Scrubby will verify something like 650 to 700, because it has a more in-depth validation policy on the back end. What it also does is validates the risky emails. So if you have like a support at email address, it will scrape that email address and then decide if it's valid or not, even if it's a catch-all email address. Now, a catch-all is just an email address that catches every email, like support at, sales at, help at. Scrubby will clean those for you, and although it's on the sort of more expensive side, it is super useful. But Million Verify should be fine. Now, you can use tools like OpenBase or Apollo to get widely accessible leads at scale, but anyone with a subscription to those tools can also get the same leads as you, right? So that's not really a problem, because remember that most people are sending terrible emails, and we're teaching you how to send good emails. But even to stand out, you need to start sending to people who aren't getting as many emails. And to do this, we want to take advantage of every single kind of trick and secret that we get. We want to crush the competition. So, hack one, instant data scraper. So this tool makes me laugh my ass off. Like, it is funny, right? So what it basically does, it's a Chrome extension that scrapes all the data from a single page, right? So you can load up a recipe website like, how to bake a lemon drizzle cake, right? Or how to bake a French flan, right? And the instant data scraper will scrape all of the ingredients and information on the page and then put it into a CSV, right? So we're not baking a cake, of course. So why is this useful? We'll be using it to scrape directories for domains and then enriching the data. So let's just define enriching data here. So you won't always have access to the verified email address of a decision maker like john@abc123.com, but you might have his domain at hand in a big CSV, which is abc123.com. Enriching leads is just a technique used by people who want John's personal email, but they only have his domain, if that makes sense. So I want to target John, but I only have his domain. I don't have John's email. And all I have to do is go into my data source of choice, copy paste John's domain into the search bar, and then apollo.io or any of your search tools, they will find every email associated with abc123.com. You can see that on Apollo, there's something like 200 million leads, but I've just filtered to include the list of companies, and the one company list is apple.com. So we've now got 198,000 leads from apple.com, and we can obviously export them all, but remember, not all of them are going to be decision makers, of course. So back to Instant Data Scraper. So we're going to find a directory that is filled with our ideal clients. For us, in this example, it's going to be marketing agencies. So clutch.co is a great place to go. And I want to enrich 10,000 domains to get the founders' emails. I open up Instant Data Scraper. I clicked start crawling and it started to scrape thousands of those domains of the agencies from the page, which is great. You can see in the fourth column here, website link, item href, all of those domains are ready to go. I'm going to go over to Apollo and get all the decision maker emails from that company list. I can reach out to them because I know for a fact they're an agency, because Clutch is literally making millions of dollars a year advertising agencies. It doesn't advertise cake shops. It doesn't advertise, software companies that help healthcare professionals. It targets agencies and it helps people pick agencies. So we know for a fact that Clutch has done all the work for us, and we know that we can reach out to them. As you can see, I've pasted all of the leads domains into the include exclude list of companies, and now all of the people's decision makers are going to be inside Apollo. So let's talk about directories for specific niches. So we've got marketing directories to get agencies. We've got G2 Crowd, Trust Radius, Good Firms, and Agency Spotter. The best one here for me is obviously Clutch that we just scraped, but G2 Crowd is pretty good. Agency Spotter is a newer one or a less used one. And then Trust Radius is more for reviews, and Good Firms is a pretty good curated list as a whole. If you're targeting software companies or SaaS, Product Hunt is great. Crunchbase is awesome. It has tens of thousands of leads. It has upwards of about 2 to 3 million leads in total that you can scrape. And Angel List is primarily known for sort of helping startups connect with investors. So it's a bit harder to scrape from, but it's still useful. Then Capterra is very similar to Trust Radius and G2 because it's more like reviews on SaaS, but you can still scrape it. Then we've got blue collar and local business directories. So Yelp, Google My Business, Home Advisor, and Porch. So Yelp is going to be super useful because it's all like active businesses that are actually in operation. Google My Business is a bit harder because there's going to be dud businesses on there that don't actually exist anymore, but most of them will be good, especially if you filter by people with reviews. And then Home Advisor is really good. There's thousands of companies on there, and Porch is a bit of a lesser known one, but it works just like Home Advisor or Yelp. Now remember, I'm only showing you these directories so that you can use Instant Data Scraper on them. Now without Instant Data Scraper, they are useless and painful to look at because you want all of these leads and you can't get them. Well, now you can by using Instant Data Scraper to scrape one of these and then pop those domains into Apollo. A bonus. So you can try Outscraper for local businesses, and I'm not affiliated with Outscraper by any means, but it is very fun. So all you do is you scrape a local business's niche. So you've got, say, dental leads. You plug in the local business and it scrapes Google Maps and you get a giant CSV. But remember, without enriching the domains on Apollo, you won't get any of the decision maker emails that are suitable for sending cold emails because it'll just give you things like contact at, sales at, help at, etc. Another similar tool is D7. So to recap, you'll want to decide on your ICP, scrape leads from the data sources, clean them, and then you're done. So step one is decide your ICP from the ICP man diagram, model from past customers and then who you've already served. Step two is use Open-Based Apollo or Find Email to find leads that match the criteria. If you want more leads that haven't been contacted as much, use Instant Data Scraper and get creative with enriching with Apollo. Then finally, you clean those leads with Million Verifier, Scrubby, or Bulk Email Checker, and you export only the good verified ones. So let's get into the AI side, how to create powerful ICPs with ChatGPT. So the first thing you're going to do is go to chat.open.ai and copy paste the below prompt and get started. So using the following criteria of my business offering, craft me a 300-word ICP suitable for my niche and offer. I sell offer to niche, and my past and current clients are describe your past and current clients. You'll see that ChatGPT will spit out all of this information about roofing companies, for example. So they're small to medium-sized roofing companies that you need to target. You should target companies that have an annual revenue of 1 to 10 million. They're primarily targeting roofers in urban and suburban areas. And their online presence is they have a basic website. So we now have an ideal customer profile to sell SEO to, for example. Just plug what ChatGPT gave you into Apollo via the filters. So if the ICP that ChatGPT built tells you that it's 10 to 50 employees and roofing related services, then obviously plug them into Apollo. Say 10 to 50 employees, say that the keyword is roofing and that there's another keyword that says residential. So we're only going to get residential, rural roofing companies that are going to be with that sort of like employee count. And that's as simple as that. Now, advanced. Now you can ask ChatGPT to build upon the pain points so that you have better marketing strategy. So now you say to it, thanks, now that you've given me this ICP, which was by here, can you now list a few dozen pain points that those companies face in marketing, converting leads, keeping customers, getting customers to return, making more money, etc.? Add nuance and industry expertise to your answer. You can see here, if we just choose any random one, limited online visibility. So struggling to appear in local search results or platforms where potential customers are looking for roofing services. You can go down further here. So lead conversion issues, poor lead quality. The leads are not well qualified or likely to convert. Let's define latent conditions quickly, because to get the sort of pain points and to manipulate your cold email outreach, you just have to know the latent conditions. In a corporate context, latent conditions refer to an underlying or hidden factor or problem with an organization that isn't like immediately apparent to everyone who looks at the organization, but it's pretty apparent internally what these problems are. So basically, if we know that a latent condition of a roofing company is that their leads are awful and they never convert, this is a latent condition or a business pain point that we can use in our outreach. These conditions often lie like quite dormant, and no one really talks about them, and they may not cause like immediate issues from the get-go, like a broken website would, or like an out of office secretary not answering phone calls, whatever it may be. This is like something that's going to, cause problems, death by a thousand cuts in the company, like bad leads or bad marketing. Understanding and addressing those conditions is crucial, so that you can actually write good outreach. So let's now manipulate our cold email script with the ICP problems and latent conditions of an e-commerce brand. So with e-commerce companies, you can see here on the left, number 2 is costs and budgeting. So when e-commerce brands try and hire influencers, it can be very expensive, especially when working with high-profile influencers. The companies must balance the cost of these partnerships with the expected return on investment. So inside my script on the right, highlighted in light yellow, you can see that I've now soothed that pain that ChatGPT has told me my leads are having by saying you only pay our influencers when customer checks out. And you can continue to do this so that all of the pains that ChatGPT have told you your ICP are facing, you can obviously tell them inside the email that you solve that problem. And that's how to get loads and loads of meetings. Now, I've never scraped LinkedIn, but because it's against the rules. But if I did, I would probably use something like Scrup. But I've never used Scrup because I've never scraped LinkedIn Sales Navigator because it's against the terms of service. So basically, Scrup is pretty useful because you can upload a LinkedIn Sales Navigator link, and then it will scrape the leads from that link. And you can also go onto LinkedIn and have Scrup scrape the leads one by one. So super, super useful, and it's extremely cheap at scale. An advanced one is Magically Genius. Now, this is a bit of a secretive company because it again goes against some of the sort of ethics of lead databases, but you can scrape leads from Apollo for $30 by using Magically Genius. And this is very, very cheap at scale. You just give Magically Genius your Apollo link, and then you pay for the leads and they'll send you leads. So it can save you thousands of dollars. By the way, just as a quick reminder, Response AI's OpenBase has over 2 million leads inside the database that are all verified in all of the industries we've discussed, like construction, software companies, agencies. We have all of the clutch data, etc., or at least similar clutch data, like similar marketing agency data, etc. So just log in there and get unlimited leads because we have no limits on exports. So you can get as many leads as you want. Now, after getting your leads from the source that you've scraped, now we're going to go into more detail about how to scrape specific leads in the next couple of minutes. But you can just start sending from the get-go, and I pretty much always do it. So some of your company names will be formatted a bit bizarrely, like, XYZ Roofing Inc., PLC, whatever it may be, right? Sending this in an email will look fake and it'll look weird. And you would never say in real life, for example, great to see how you're doing, John, at ABC Roofing Trademark LLC PLC Limited, right? You just wouldn't say that. It looks weird. Now, before you spend time on formatting leads, ask yourself if the company name is even going to be inside the email. So after sending about 1 million emails, in my career as, as a sort of salesperson, maybe 5% of those emails actually included the company name. And people spend a lot of time going through lists and causing a lot of operational drag to, create the clean lists of company names to put in emails. In other words, when you're writing an email and you want to say, "Hi, John, noticed you guys at Touchstone Roofing are doing ABC," it does make the email more personalized, but I've never seen a massive boost in results, so I just avoid it. Remember that you want to create as little operational drag as possible. And formatting company names before you start, reaching out to people takes a lot of time. Let's define operational drag quickly. So operational drag is the result of unnecessary optimization. So formatting company names and roles and stuff like that for me has always seemed like operational drag, right? So does it improve results? Maybe, but is it like a good trade-off to spend hours and hours doing it? Operational drag in cold email and outreach needs to be kept as low as possible. It's why your favorite bakery sells the same stuff every single day and occasionally has like a few limited products, right? It's because it's systemized. And a really, really good book for this is E-Myth Revisited by Michael E. Gerber. He talks about how to build a good business, it needs to be completely copy-paste every single time. It's how McDonald's have made tens of billions. Every single time you create a cold email campaign, it should be McDonald's-ized, right? It should look and feel practically identical, especially if you want to run a cold email agency or you want to run high-level outreach. Operational drag is the killer of scale, and it's why we gave you the cold email anatomy class earlier on in the academy, because it means that you can copy-paste that every single time and use our GPT prompts to copy the emails. So formatting leads in your CSV. So you can apply this formula in the cell next to the company column. Now remember, this is assuming that the column with the companies in your sheet is B2 and onwards, because column B is mentioned inside the formula below. Because the formula references B2, change B2 to E2, etc., depending on where your companies are in the columns. Again, notice how the difference between this slide and the last one, I've just added more like PLC, LLC, PA, APC, whatever it may be, in dollar signs, etc. So you can just add as many as you want to make sure that you're going to get, the most out of the scrape and the most out of the clean. Just going to show you a quick demo here. So all of my company names are in B. I'm going to name this column company fixed, and I'm going to paste my formula, and you'll see that it's started formatting them already and removing PA, BA, LLC, etc. Now you'll see at the bottom that Kogan law firm, APC, there's still APC in there, right? Which is a problem. I'm going to go back and add APC into my formula. And it's as simple as that. And that's how you can obviously build this formula up to clean as many leads as possible. And there's the tutorial again. So for marketing agencies, we've obviously got the most comprehensive and affordable database for marketing agencies over at Response AI. So basically, the database hosts like 250,000 direct emails of decision makers from agencies. And every single email is verified and then re-uploaded every 14 days. So they're extremely valid. The best part is that you can export unlimited data, so that even if there's, say, 300 out of 10,000 that are invalid because they've quit since the last 14 days, that's okay. You can just go back in and scrape more. Like, the problem with verified leads is that you have limits. So you might pay for 10,000 leads on Apollo, scrape them, and then only 2,000 are actually verified, and you pay 10,000 to get 2,000. You see how that's a problem? All you have to do is log in and choose your niche, and then add some filters and export. And you can export practically unlimited emails. As you can see, just for creative agencies, there's like 37,000, and it goes up and up and up from there. And you can just, scrape as many as you want without any limits. Now, Clutch and Apollo.io. So with Clutch specifically, you are going to go and open up Instant Data Scraper, and you are going to scrape all of the domains from the page. You're then going to go into Apollo.io, and you are going to copy paste in the 10,000 plus domains and then save and search. This will now give you a net new amount of, say, 1,500 decision makers with the clutch.co domains. So this is what we talked about earlier. Go on to Clutch, get the instant data scraper to scrape the domains from the front page, and then pop those emails into Apollo. Pop those domains, sorry, into apollo.io and then scrape the emails. Now, niche specific scraping formulas for software and IT. At the simplest level, you can get as many software startup IT leads as possible, or as many as you want from OpenBase or Apollo. Apollo will let you filter by software, but you'll likely find more startups and tech companies under the filter information technology, or things like banking, finance apps, etc. Then you can use the technology and keyword filters we discussed earlier to trim down the list. So OpenBase has a list of over 100,000 decision maker emails in the startup and IT tech space ready for export. So you can log in whenever and export as many as you'd like. At the simplest level, to get as many software or startup or IT leads as possible, you can use OpenBase or Apollo. Apollo will let you filter by software or computer software, but you'll likely find more startups and tech companies, etc., under the filter information technology or IT. Or things like banking and then filtering by finance and things like that, or software or tech, etc. You can use the technology filters and the keyword filters that we discussed earlier to trim down the list. So OpenBase, for example, has a list of over 100,000 decision maker emails in the startup and IT/tech space, and they're ready for export on an unlimited basis. You can log in whenever and export as many as you'd like. Or with Apollo, what you can do is scrape from something like Crunchbase, just like we did with Instant Data Scraper and Clutch, and then pop those domains in. As you can see here, we're going to filter by owner, founder, C-suite. In the United States, 11 to 20 employees, all the way up to 100 plus. Information technology, and then the keywords are going to be cloud and software. We're also going to filter by verified, and you'll see that our final amount is 4.7K. And we filtered by CTOs, etc. That's how we're going to get verified emails from Apollo, but you'll always have to clean leads from Apollo because they're not always the best quality. Now, this is Outscraper again. So for local businesses like brick and mortar, you're going to go over and filter by dental clinic, dentist, etc. You are then going to go ahead and add the exact match filter, and you're going to add your locations. Once you've added the locations, give it a maximum result limit of say 5 to 10,000. Make sure that you've got, if you want emails, extract emails on, etc. And then you're going to begin the task. And remember that it is going to tell you that there's going to be an estimate cost, etc. And you've just got to make sure that you're happy with paying that. Click continue, click confirm, and then pay, and then you're ready to go. As you can see here, I scraped the dental practices that I just popped in, and you can see that I've got tens of thousands of dental practices inside a Google Sheet. What you're going to do then is take those domains and you're going to pop them into Apollo again. It's as simple as that. Again, enrich the domains with Apollo. So I put all of the dental companies inside Apollo, and then we're good to go. Now with OpenBase, you can obviously get construction companies and local businesses from OpenBase as well, and they're double verified, but you obviously won't find tens of thousands of these. You'll find about 100,000 on OpenBase ready to export. Now, e-commerce brands. BrandNav is super useful because you can get all of the domains for e-commerce brands from BrandNav. The same goes for store leads, and then all you have to do is enrich domains with Apollo. Now, remember that the domains, again, that you get from store leads, they aren't emails or brand nav. They only give you the domains, but they do give you useful information about revenue, about team size, etc., about products. So make sure that you get the domains from brand nav or store leads and then enrich them with Apollo. Now, Apollo.io and technologies filtering. So remember that you can go into Apollo and filter by e-commerce brand technologies like Shopify or Klaviyo. That is going to give us 3.5 million leads. And we know that those brands have to be e-commerce brands, or extremely likely, because they're using Shopify, Klaviyo, or big commerce, etc. Then we're going to filter by the industry keywords apparel and fashion, and you'll see that we've got 370,000 companies. You can see that Gildan, Spanx, and Le Slip France or Tate and Zoe, all of those are, as I know them to be, they are brands. So we've done the good thing here. We've filtered by apparel and fashion with Shopify, and lo and behold, what a shock, it gives us fashion brands. So that is the module completed on how to use AI to scrape as many leads as you possibly can. You've learned how to scrape software companies, advertising agencies and marketing agencies, local businesses, and e-commerce brands. If you have any other questions, or you're trying to scrape a specific ICP and you can't figure out how to do it on Apollo or OpenBase or SalesNav or Find Email, just reach out to me at ollie@response.ai. That's OLLY at response.ai. And I will get on a call with you and talk about how to scrape as many leads as you possibly can so you can crush your outreach. And I'll speak to you soon. Take care.